Alright guys, we're going to show you a few different log inoculation techniques. Here we have a fresh cut, healthy red oak, and again, nothing produces shiitakes in volume as long or as high a quality as Minnesota red oak. The reason being is our growing season is so short here that the growth rings are very small. For example, this year we only had 5 months without snow on the ground. We literally had snow at the edge of our woods May 1st, and our first flurries this year were September 29th, which is a bit early. So even our production logs, which normally would have 3 fruitings a year, only had 2. So that leads to a very tight growth ring. The lignin and cellulose is much more dense when it can't have a longer season to grow. We're also very fortunate to be in an area where we don't have oak wilt to have to deal with, and a few other tree pathogens just don't exist here because it's too cold. That's what gives us the ability to produce logs that can be sold all over the United States, where most other places you can't transport a piece of wood with bark attached more than 25 miles, and that's even after it's cut, split, and dried. So we're going to start with the drill. A lot of you guys that are small hobby growers don't necessarily want to make the investment of 40 to 50 bucks for the attachments for the angle grinder, but what we're using is the one product in our company that's not American made. It's the drill bits that are actually made in Japan specifically for plug inoculations, and they're just a little bit longer than that plug, so when we seat that here in a minute, it's going to create a little air gap underneath there. What that does, especially in dramatic climates like ours that are very dynamic temperature-wise, is it gives them 20 to 25 microclimates, one per each inoculation site. So as our overnight lows are 20 below and the next day there's 30 above, that cold doesn't quite penetrate all the way. It actually reduces the amount of time it takes for our logs to get established. It also reduces the recovery time from about 8 to 10 weeks for forced fruitings or shockings down to 6. So we're going to start with the drill, again with the bit that's not American made. So if anybody's watching this and wants to contact me, we'd love to have these be American made. So the drill's a little bit slower. So when we produce our logs, we come at 2 foot long. A lot of commercial growers and some of the old growers are going to tell you 48 inches. Well, if you want to shock these or force fruit these on a schedule, and you're doing a large volume, say 40 to 60 logs twice a week to have 7-day production, you are literally lifting logs that are 4 foot long, 6 to 8 inches in diameter, sometimes a bit smaller, in that tank. 2 days later, pulling them out of the tank, you wait a day, put another one in. By the end of the week, it's pretty hard to walk. So 2 foot logs make life a whole lot easier. So on this, it's a fairly small diameter 4-inch log. We have spaced our plugs out about 4 to 6 inches. So on a 2 foot log, we generally have 5 per row. We're going to roll that over. We're going to offset that next series of holes so it kind of forms a diamond pattern around that log. So we're going to end up with 4 rows of 5 on this log. If you're doing this at any large scale, I highly recommend the angle grinder adapter. So the drill works at about 800 to 1,000 RPMs. These guys are rocking 12,000 RPMs. So just to kind of give you an idea how fast this goes, we were able to just finish the last 3 rows in a third of the time it took to do 1 row with the drill. This reduced our production time by about 80%. Something I forgot though to tell you guys, safety first. So when you're using power tools, it's fairly important that you use earplugs. And we find that the shiitakes work much better than the oysters. So we're going to slide this down. I'm going to let one of the guys go ahead and pound those plugs in. We're actually going to seat those flush with the bark. We want to continue to keep that airspace underneath that plug to provide those microclimates for that mycelium. So it's literally just pound those in. Usually we use framing hammers. You don't got to be gentle. Notice that we didn't reach our hand in the bag. If we're not going to go through all 1,000 plugs, erring on the side of caution, we're going to put what we need into the container, pick out of that, just so we're not inadvertently or accidentally introducing green or gray mold into that bag. So the guy's got a few in here quick. We're going to slide this down just a bit and go to our next step. Next step would be waxing those inoculation sites. So we're not going to wax the cut ends. That actually inhibits the ability of that log to draw that moisture back in if we're going to force fruit it. Any random spots like this, here we had a lateral branch that was cut off, we're going to go ahead and wax that. And then of course the inoculation site. So what we're doing is we're picking up green and gray mold spores as we breathe. It's part of life. We're creating a semi-anaerobic environment when we cover these inoculation sites. The mycelium love that. They thrive. and the green and gray mold spores just can't survive. So that's it. We literally just covered those inoculation sites, any random nicks, chunks out of the bark, and any lateral branches that were cut off. Again, do not wax the ends. That is actually detrimental to the log. The thought behind that was it's going to hold in moisture. Well, eventually it's going to evaporate out through the bark, but when we go to force fruit that, it cannot easily be absorbed back into that through that bark, as well as it can through the capillary draw of the log's cut ends. So that's it. Literally let it sit, full shade, let it get rained and snowed on. Take 6 months of above 60-degree weather. Here in Minnesota, that's basically the same day we do it next year. Those of you in warmer climates, if you inoculate your logs in spring, can occasionally actually have your first fruiting that fall.